Good evening, everyone. Today is Wednesday, May 27th, 2026. I'd like to welcome everyone that is sitting in the Baker Meeting Room this evening and those online to this meeting of the Bismarck Planning and Zoning Commission. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order and ask Sarah to please call roll.
Commissioner Bittner? Johnson?
Here.
Shell?
Here.
Schmitz?
Here.
Sivak? Swanson?
Here.
Taylor? Here. Wengler?
Here.
Chair Schwartz.
Here. Thank you. With that, we'll move on to the first item on our agenda this evening, which is approval of the minutes from the April 22nd meeting. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Move to approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Swanson.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion, Commissioners? And I'm not seeing or hearing any. With that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Wengler?
Yes.
Shell?
Yes.
Schmitz?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Taylor? Yes. Schwartz.
Yes, motion is approved. With that, we move on to public comment this evening. And this is limited to the items on this meeting's consent agenda, which there are none, and or the previous Planning and Zoning Commission agenda. With that, I'll open the podium. Is there anyone here that would care to make public comment? And I'm not seeing anybody stepping up. So with that, I'm going to close the public comment period. And we will move on to our consent agenda, which is quite short this evening. I think we still have to make a motion to approve it. Would that be correct?
I don't know if you do, if there's nothing on it.
Okay. Nothing there to approve, so we can just, all right, we'll pass on that. We'll move on to our regular agenda this evening. The first item on our regular agenda is Silver Ranch 5th Edition, Block 4, Lot 45. And Isaac is going to give us a staff briefing.
Good evening, Chair Schwartz and Commissioners. For this first regular agenda item this evening, once we get the presentation up here shortly, InvestCorp is requesting approval of an annexation of Lot 45, Block 4 of Silver Ranch 5th Edition and the adjoining right-of-way of Davies Drive. The project is located northeast of Bismarck, as you can see on the screens now. And it's north of 43rd Avenue along a future extension of Davies Drive. The project area, as you can see there, is highlighted, and it's about 2.52 acres of land, more or less. And the applicant wishes to annex this particular lot to provide a continuous length of Davies Drive within city limits for roadway construction. It's perhaps a little hard to tell from this particular view. If we go to the next slide, not exactly a better view, but there's about a 5 or 6 foot length along Davies Drive that is currently not annexed, and by annexing this lot, there will be a fully continuous length on within city limits for the construction of Davies Drive going into the areas that the applicant wishes to ultimately develop. There are a couple other areas. I guess the coloring on the screen there is not particularly good, but you can see the boundary of city limits there. So parts of Silver Ranch 5th Edition are already annexed, but this particular part would be added into that. It's part of the plat of Silver Ranch 5th, of course, which you recommended approval of in May of last year, and the City Commission approved in July. And the area is still largely in the early stages of development, and the surrounding area to the east and south is undeveloped land, so zoned A agricultural, but then to the north is area within Silver Ranch 5th that's zoned PUD. Mostly will be single-family homes with some other stormwater lots and a community center. This lot in particular is also a stormwater lot. A stormwater and drainage easement covers the whole thing, so we're not expecting any development on there, but just need that for the right-of-way in this case. The annexation area is identified as parks and open space in the future land use plan, which are described as places to be largely kept in a natural state and providing many important functions for the community and the ecosystem. And the public was not notified of this because this is not a public hearing. The public will be notified of this request prior to the public hearing at the City Commission in accordance with state law, as well as formal notifications to Burleigh County and Gibbs Township, should you recommend approval here today. And as a cumulative result of all the findings contained in the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the annexation would not adversely impact public health, safety, and the general well-being of the public, and that it is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the annexation of Lot 45, Block 4, Silver Ranch, 5th Edition. Does the commission have any questions for me?
Commissioners, questions for Isaac? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Isaac.
Okay,
Thank you. Commissioners, with that, this is a final consideration, and staff's recommendation is to approve. What are your wishes?
Move to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Schmitz,
Second.
second from Commissioner Wangler. Any additional discussion, commissioners? I'm not seeing or hearing any. With that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Wangler,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Shell,
Yes.
Taylor, and Schwartz.
Yes, a motion is approved. With that, we will move on to item B in our regular agenda, Clear Sky Second Edition. And Lauren is going to provide us with staff briefing this evening.
Good evening, Chairman Schwartz and Commissioners. FRF Investments LLP and 94 Investments LLP are requesting approval of a zoning map amendment from the R5 residential and the A agricultural zoning districts to the R5 residential zoning district, as well as a major subdivision final plat titled Clear Sky Second Edition. The project area contains 19.18 acres and is located east of Bismarck, east of 52nd Street, southeast and north of Apple Creek Road. The Bismarck City Commission at their meeting last night approved the Land Development Code and as well as the associated official zoning map. As such, the zoning ordinance for the proposed zoning map will reflect the new zoning district equivalent of the RS Residential Suburban code on the code's effective date of October 1st. The request would create 7 lots in 4 blocks. In order to facilitate the acquisition of this property for future development, the applicant is working with an adjacent property owner to subdivide this area and develop additional neighborhood amenities and infrastructure. The applicant has noted that this area will be developed later on after the rest of Clear Sky Edition is further developed. This will include the subdivision of the larger lots for residential urban development. The proposed zoning district would generally conform to the character of that district when that future residential development occurs. The property has been identified as urban neighborhood in the future land use plan, which are identified as places for quiet enjoyment of home life. The adjacent area is developing single-family residential to the north, undeveloped residential to the west, and agricultural land to the south and east. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered this request on April 22nd and called for a public hearing. The public was notified of this request via publications in the Bismarck Tribune on May 15th and 22nd. 32 postcards were also mailed to adjacent property owners on May 15th. A physical sign was placed in a publicly accessible spot as well at the project location on May 11th. Staff did receive 1 phone call regarding this request, just looking for additional information. No formal comments were submitted for this request. The request was evaluated according to standards contained within the Comprehensive Plan, Code of Ordinances, and state law. Staff have noted that additional offsite stormwater and drainage easements for the adjacent property, as noted within the conditional approval for the post-construction stormwater management permit, must be received prior to recordation of the plat. Additionally, the applicant has submitted a waiver for the minimum lot width for Lot 3, Block 4. These are provided as conditions of approval for this request. As a result of findings contained in the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed request would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan, Code of Ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the proposed zoning map amendment from the R5 residential and A agricultural zoning districts to the R5 residential zoning district, as well as the major subdivision final plat for Clear Sky Second Edition, with the condition that the additional offsite stormwater and drainage easements, as noted in the conditional approval of that post-construction stormwater management permit, are received prior to recordation of the plat. And a waiver for the minimum lot width for Lot 3, Block 4 is approved with this request. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, questions for Lauren? I'm not seeing any, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, I will open the public hearing on this agenda item. Is either the applicant or representative here to speak to the agenda item?
Good evening. I'm Matt Geiger. I'm the developer here, and I guess I just agree with the staff and concur with Lauren's statements, and just here if you have any questions.
Commissioners, questions for Matt? It's a quiet group tonight, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I'm not seeing or hearing any, so with that, I will close the public hearing on this agenda item. Lauren, any additional comments?
None at this time, Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, with that, this is a request for a zoning map amendment and a major subdivision final plat. Staff recommends approval of both with conditions indicated. What are your wishes?
Move to approve with the conditions.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Swanson,
Second.
a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any additional discussion, Commissioners? I'm not seeing or hearing any. With that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yep.
Wangler,
Yes.
Shell,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Taylor, Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we will move on to Boulder Ridge 8th Edition, and Jenny is going to provide us with staff briefing this evening.
Chairman Schwartz, Commissioners, Five Guys Investments LLP requests approval of a zoning map amendment and major subdivision final plat titled Boulder Ridge 8th Edition. This request is located in North Bismarck, east of North Washington Street, between 43rd Avenue Northeast and East LaSalle Drive. It consists of 13.6 acres with 19 lots and 4 blocks. As Lauren mentioned earlier, the City Commission at their meeting last night approved the Land Development Code and associated official zoning map, which will take effect on October 1st. As such, the zoning ordinance for the proposed zoning map amendment will reflect the new zoning district equivalents outlined in the LDC and the existing districts. So the zoning map amendment would be from the agricultural zoning district to the OS open space, also known right now as P Public, and the RS residential suburban, also known right now as the R10 residential. Lot 1, Block 2 of the proposed subdivision will include a park for the proposed park for the Boulder Ridge neighborhood. And Lot 10, Block 4 will function as a stormwater area and is encumbered by a stormwater and drainage easement. It's our understanding that a development agreement outlining improvements of this lot and eventual transfer of ownership to the City of Bismarck has been drafted and would be recorded with a final plat. The property has been identified as urban neighborhood in our future land use plan. These areas are places for quiet enjoyment of home life. The proposed zoning districts would conform to the character of this district. Adjacent uses include developing single-family residential to the north, south, and west, and a remnant agriculture zone parcel to the east. The Planning and Zoning Commission considered the preliminary plat and zoning map amendment at your meeting on January 28th, 2026, and and called for a public hearing. A notice was published in the Tribune on May 15th and 22nd, and 123 postcards were mailed to the owners of nearby properties on May 15th. A physical sign providing the information on tonight's public hearing was placed in a publicly accessible spot at the project location on May 11th, and one written comment was received and emailed to you this morning. The proposed zoning map amendment and major subdivision final plat were evaluated according to standards contained within our comprehensive plan, code of ordinances, and state law. As a result of all findings contained in the staff report, staff find that the proposed major subdivision plat and zoning map amendment would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is consistent with our comprehensive plan, code of ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the proposed zoning map amendment from the A agricultural zoning district to the R10 residential, which will be RS residential suburban, and P public zoning districts, which will be our OS open space district, and major subdivision final plat for Boulder Ridge 8th edition. Do you have questions?
Commissioners, questions for Jenny? I'm not seeing any, Jenny. Thank you. With that, I will open the public hearing for this agenda item, and we'll either the applicant or a representative, and I see Landon is stepping up, so.
Thank you, Chair Schwartz. Landon Neimiller with Swinson-Hagen Engineering, representing Five Guys on this project. Nothing to add what Jenny didn't already cover, but here to answer any questions if you have them.
Commissioners, questions for Landon? Landon, I'm not seeing or hearing any.
Thank you.
With that, thank you. With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. Thank you, sir. Would you add your name to the log up there, please, and introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Jerry Fow. Have one of the homes that are to the back of that park area. Just curious as to what's going to be used to separate the park from the home lots.
That would, okay.
And then if they're going to take care of all the noxious weeds back there.
Jenny, can you address that question?
Thank you. Board members, sir, I'm assuming they will take care of the noxious weeds. I haven't talked to them about the noxious weeds. I'm just looking through our land development code right now for any kind of buffering requirements. I suspect we have them, but I'm going to need a second to find them.
Yeah, I'm just worried, park and running right into our backyard without
Sure.
any kind of barrier, fence or whatever. And I don't know if trees will grow there either because of the alkali soil, so just curious how it's going to separate out.
We can certainly work with parks as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name's Roger Harris. I'm the president of the Boulder Ridge HOA. I just had a question regarding on the park. Do you know what the specials, is that going to go to the members, or is that going to be split through the city? Or how does that work exactly?
I can't answer your question on that. Commissioner Schell?
Sure, I can take a stab at that one. So the park development agreement, or the park open space policy that the city and parks have, and a joint powers agreement, uses the special assessment process that the city has to make a portion of the park improvement, whether that's the purchase of the land or the purchase of the equipment or the general improvements of that land. All is then special assessed to the benefiting properties. And for the purpose of this project, that area, I guess I'm not exactly sure what that boundary is definitively, but I think in the park development agreement between the developer and the park district that was part of this plat, had a boundary that was many of the properties within Boulder Ridge proper. So even up to 57th and down to 43rd Avenue, I believe, is the boundary that would be part of that neighborhood park, as the entire Boulder Ridge area really hasn't had a park developed through all 8 editions so far. That is a process that would have the right for the public would be benefited from that improvement to protest out the improvement if they're not interested in that. So in the coming weeks, The Park District will be more than likely requesting the city create a district and create a resolution of necessity, and then send letters out to all the affected landowners, letting them know what those expected special assessments would be, and kind of the term of how long they would take to pay off, and where the park would be at, and have a little more information about the actual park improvement.
Okay, and I also, is this also including the completion of Normandy as well for this 8th edition? Okay, I just was looking for clarification on that, because I know some members were requesting about that, so, thank you.
Thank you, Roger. With that, the podium is open for others. Landon, you're back.
Yeah, thanks again. I just want to clarify, and with Commissioner Shell's comments there, the assessment district for the Park District is the entirety of the Boulder Ridge subdivision, less some of the commercial units that are out there. So it's quite a number of lots that would be part of that group. So the Park District just approved their agreement just the other night, so they'll be, as Commissioner Shell mentioned, they'll be sending out their letters pretty soon here.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification. Again, I'll ask, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I am not seeing or hearing any. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Jenny, any additional comments?
I do, thank you. My computer's being very slow and I can't get to the page, but Lauren has it up here for me. With the new land development code and with some of our existing requirements, both the open space district and the residential suburban district are both lower intensity districts, and we do not require a buffer between the two.
Thank you for that clarification. With that, Commissioners, this is a request for a zoning map amendment and a major subdivision final plat. Staff recommendation is to approve both. What are your wishes?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Swanson. With that, Commissioners, any additional discussion? I'm not seeing or hearing any. With that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Shell,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Wangler,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to item D in our regular agenda, the Graham edition. And once again, Jenny will provide us staff briefing on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Dakota Upright LTD Partnership is requesting approval of a minor subdivision plat titled Graham Edition. It's a replat of Auditor's Lots 1202 and 1212 and parts of Blocks 17 and 18 in Suttles Edition. This request is located in southeast Bismarck, south of East Bismarck Expressway and east of South 12th Street in the southwest quadrant of the intersection of Lee Avenue and Airport Road. It consists of 1.76 acres with 2 lots in 1 block. The minor plat would create 2 lots in 1 block. There are 2 existing buildings located on the property, and each building would be located on a separate lot. Their minor plat also identifies existing utility easements and access points. No new access points are proposed. Adjacent land uses include industrial uses to the north across Lee Avenue, east across Airport Road, south, and a vacant industrial zoned parcel to the west. A notice was published in the Tribune on May 15th and 22nd, and 17 postcards were mailed to the owners of nearby properties on May 15th. A sign providing information on tonight's hearing was placed in a publicly accessible spot at the project location on May 11th. Staff did receive 1 phone call inquiring about redevelopment of the site and outlining some traffic concerns on Airport Road. This request was evaluated according to standards contained within the Comprehensive Plan, Code of Ordinances, and state law. And as a result of all the findings contained in the staff report, staff find that the proposed minor subdivision plat would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the minor subdivision final plat titled Graham Edition. Do you have questions?
Commissioners, questions for Jenny? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Jenny. Thank you. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing. Is either the applicant or a representative here to speak to this agenda item?
Good evening, Chair Schwartz and Commission members. Nicholas Cullen with Houston Engineering. I'm here representing Dakota Upright any questions you may have, be happy to answer them.
Commissioners, questions for Nick? Nick, I'm not seeing any.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I'm not seeing anybody else stepping up to the podium, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Jenny, do you have any additional comments?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Jenny. With that, Commissioners, this is a request for a minor subdivision final plat. Staff's recommendation is to approve. What are your wishes?
Move to approve as presented.
We have a motion from Commissioner Schmitz,
Second.
a second from Commissioner Johnson. Any discussion, Commissioners? And I'm not seeing or hearing any, so Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Swanson,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Wengler,
Yes.
Shell,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we'll move on to item E in our regular agenda, Meadow Valley 6th Edition. And Isaac is going to provide us with staff briefing this evening.
Good evening again, Chair Schwartz and Commissioners. For this next regular agenda item, BDC Expressway LLC are requesting approval of a minor subdivision final plat titled Meadow Valley 6th Edition. As you can see on the screens before you and in your packets, it's located in sort of west central Bismarck, a little south too, along the south side of East Bismarck Expressway in between South 3rd Street and 7th Street, and also adjacent to Bozeman Drive there. The project area consists of approximately 1.83 acres, and it is a replat of lots 41 through 44, Block 2, Meadow Valley Edition replat of Lot 1, Block 2, and Lot 2, and the west 1 foot of Lot 3, Block 2, Meadow Valley Edition. Or in other words, it's about 5 lots in 2 blocks of 2 separate subdivisions. And that's why the final 2 attachments on this staff report shows which of the 2 subdivisions it is being replatting. The area is, as of right now, currently 1 parcel, and the applicant intends to use the minor plat process to create a 2-lot in 1 block subdivision. The property is entirely located within a CG commercial zoning district as of right now, which is not being requested to change. As you've been hearing, the new land development code has been approved, so by the time October comes around, this will go to what we are referring to as the CX commercial mixed zoning district, but that is not being requested to change more immediately than that. So still CG, not being requested to change. Adjacent uses include some retail and services to the east, single-family residential to the south, multifamily residential to the west, and Kirkwood Mall to the north. And the plat area is identified as destination mixed use in the future land use plan, which are described as major commercial and employment centers that serve the entire regional trade area of Bismarck as well as visitors. There is one other thing that planning staff would like to bring to your attention regarding this item, and it was noted in the staff report as well. But if we can go to the plat document on the screen there, thank you. There is one easement shown on the plat as a 50-foot wide MDU easement, and it's noted as being unrecorded. The applicant has stated that they are working with MDU to make sure that that specific easement is squared away, both in terms of the exact dimensions and make sure that it is recorded or in some way appropriately documented, but that is not ready as of right now with this hearing. And it may not be ready until sometime in June, according to the last communication I had with them. So, in the staff report, though, staff are comfortable still advancing this application with the condition that that one specific easement is properly documented prior to the final approval by the City Commission. So the public was notified of this request via publications in the Bismarck Tribune on May 15th and 22nd, and 44 postcards were mailed to owners of nearby properties on May 15th of this year. Additionally, a physical sign providing information on the public hearing was placed in a publicly accessible spot at the project location on May 12th, 2026. Staff have received a couple of inquiries about this project, people asking for more information, asking what's going on, but to my knowledge, staff have not received any written comments prior to this hearing. Therefore, as a cumulative result of all the findings contained in the staff report, City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed minor subdivision final plat would not adversely impact public health, safety, or the general well-being of the public, and that it is generally consistent with the comprehensive plan, Bismarck Code of Ordinances, and relevant state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of the minor subdivision final plat titled Meadow Valley 6th Edition with the one condition that the easement shown on the plat as an unrecorded 50-foot MDU easement is appropriately documented prior to final approval by the City Commission. Does the Commissioner have any questions for me at this time?
Commissioners, questions for Isaac? I'm not seeing any, Isaac. Thank you. This is a public hearing, so with that, I will open the public hearing. Is either the applicant or representative here to speak to this agenda item? And I'm not seeing anybody stepping up, so with that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And once again, I'm not seeing anybody come to the podium, so with that, I'm going to close the public hearing on this agenda item. Isaac, any additional comments?
None at this time, Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, Commissioners, this is a request for a minor subdivision final plat. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. What are your wishes?
Move to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Johnson.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Schmitz. Any additional discussion? Commissioner Schell.
Maybe it's a question for staff. Isaac, did the applicant and MDU seem positive that the MDU easement situation will be resolved in a timely manner? With this being conditioned that it can't move to City Commission until that's resolved, it could be stuck in limbo if it never gets resolved. So maybe just asking for the confidence factor on that particular issue.
Commissioner Schell, Chair and Commissioners, the last I heard was that yes, perhaps sometime in June this could be resolved, but an exact timeline is beyond my knowledge, I suppose.
And maybe as a follow-up, and the applicant was okay with it in that limbo state, I guess I should say, until it gets resolved?
I am not aware of anything to the contrary, Commissioner Schell.
Okay, works for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Schell. Additional discussion, Commissioners? I'm not seeing or hearing any. With that, we have a motion on the table. Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Swanson?
Yes.
Wangler?
Yes.
Shell?
Yes.
Schmitz?
Yes.
Taylor? Yes. Schwartz?
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we move on to item F in our regular agenda, which is replat of Block 1 of Interstate Commercial Park, First Edition. Block 1, lots 1 through 2. And Lauren is going to provide us with staff briefing.
Good evening again, Chairman Schwartz and Commissioners. Brevera Bank is requesting approval of a drive-through for teller lanes in conjunction with a financial institution on lots 1 through 2. Block 1 replat of Block 1 of Interstate Commercial Park, First Edition. The project area is located in central Bismarck, north of Interstate 94, in the southwest quadrant of State Street and East Interstate Avenue. Please note that an associated lot modification request for lots 1 and 2 has occurred, which has combined them into one parcel. This is noted within the table on that front page of the staff report. The property has been identified as destination mixed use in the future land use plan. The project location is surrounded by a mix of commercial uses, including retail stores, restaurants, offices, as well as a couple hotels. A notice was published in the Bismarck Tribune on May 15th and 22nd, and 12 postcards were mailed to owners of nearby properties on May 15th. A physical sign providing information on the public hearing was placed in a publicly accessible location on May 11th. To my knowledge, staff has not received any public comments regarding this request. The request was evaluated according to standards contained in the Comprehensive Plan, Code of Ordinances, and state law. And as a result of those findings, City of Bismarck staff find that the proposed special use permit would not adversely impact the public health, safety, and general welfare, and is consistent with the Comprehensive Plan, Code of Ordinances, and state law. Therefore, staff recommends approval of a drive-through for teller lanes in conjunction with a financial institution on lots 1 through 2, Block 1, replat of Block 1 of Interstate Commercial Park, First Edition. Do you have any questions?
Commissioners, questions for Lauren? I'm not seeing or hearing any, Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is a public hearing, and with that, I will open the public hearing. Is either the applicant or a representative here to speak to this agenda item?
Good evening, Chair, Commissioners. Abe Almer with Independent Land Surveying and Engineering, the civil engineer for the design of this project. Rivera Bank is looking at actually demoing the existing bank that's on that property, on the west half of that property right now, and building a new roughly 3-story building on the east side of that property. It's just one of those hoops we have to jump through for the special use for the drive-through area for the teller. Originally we had a little skinnier lanes, but working with the structural and the architect, we did get those to actually meet your guys' code, which is good. So we didn't have to go for a variance to the special use permit. So, but if you have any questions, I'm available.
Commissioners, questions for Abe?
Okay, thanks.
Abe, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
And this will date me and goes back a long ways, but I know a portion of that lot had a gas station on it one time.
Correct.
And there were concerns about being able to build on it.
There are, as far as I know, there were monitoring wells put in place and stuff like that. There are certain things that we have to look out for during construction. So there are some regulations that we have to follow environmentally as we go through that in case we do find some spoiled soils, I guess, for lack of a better term. So there are certain things from that original gas station that we are jumping through the hoops to try to make sure that we can build there too. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Again,
Thanks.
Commissioners, any questions for Abe? Abe, thank you.
Thanks.
With that, the podium is open for others that would care to address this agenda item. And I'm not seeing or hearing any. So with that, I'm going to close the public hearing. Lauren, any additional comments?
No additional comments. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Lauren. With that, Commissioners, this is a special use permit request. Staff's recommendation is to approve. What are your wishes?
Move to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve from Commissioner Schmitz.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Swanson. Any additional discussion? I'm not seeing or hearing any. With that, Sarah, would you please call roll?
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Wangler,
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Shell,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
and Chair Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. With that, we're on to item G in our regular agenda, and it's Planning and Zoning Commission bylaws. Daniel?
Good evening, Chair Schwartz, Planning Commissioners. So these are bylaws that would basically organize the conduct of you as a board. These, to our knowledge, are the first draft bylaws that the Planning and Zoning Commission has had. Our other boards typically do have these. They dictate basically how, like I mentioned, the board meetings are conducted, how certain conflict of interests are handled, how open meeting requirements are handled, when the meetings are held, how they're noticed, quorum selection, all of the things that you do in a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, month-to-month basis. These are your own laws, so you can choose to adopt them as is or change them as you wish. They do not go to the city commission. They just affect your own operations. This is something that Chair Schwartz had been working with my predecessor, Ben Arathon. We kind of put it on the back burner for a while we were working on the land development code, but now that that's finished, we're bringing them back to you. During the training session in April, we did share a draft with you at that time. They haven't changed at all since that draft, so if you read it then, it's exactly the same thing that's in your packet this month. So we don't necessarily have a recommendation for you. You can choose to adopt them as is, or if you'd like some discussion, if you'd like us to make any changes, we can come back to you later. There's no rush. You've gone 100 years without these, so you can go another month without them as well if you'd like. So that's what we have.
Okay, thank you. I think these have been in the works for probably 2 years, and like Daniel indicated, they kind of got moved to the back burner as other things came up. So, and I think having read through them a number of times, I like them. I think they're very pertinent to our group. And so with that, I would open, thank you, Daniel. I would open the floor to discussion. If there are any questions or comments regarding the bylaws. We do have a number of new members that are sitting on our commission right now, and hopefully this will be helpful for indicating how we operate. There's a number of us that have been here for a while, and it helps to put everything in writing. There are one of the things that I wanted to visit about just briefly is that with the training that took place earlier, back about a month ago, one of the things we didn't talk about was really meeting process. And again, for the newer members of the commission, I think that's kind of an interesting thing, and you've probably caught on to it already, but realizing that the public comment period is a great time for us to collect information from the public that has thoughts on topics that are going on, that we're dealing with. And then again, the public hearings are another way. And it's a great time for commissioners to listen to public comment, get information. It's a good time to ask questions and gather information, but leaving the discussion for what happens after the public hearing is closed. And once the public hearing is closed, then of course we talk about motions and discuss amongst ourselves, sharing our thoughts based on the information that we've received. And I think it's a good process. It's worked well over the years, and once we get into, as new commissioners, once you get comfortable with that, I'm sure you'll jump right in on things. So with that, I would ask the question, should we adopt these as they are? Do you need additional time to look at them?
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Commissioner Swanson.
Yeah, so looking at these, I have a question just about some, probably like maybe enforcement of some of these. Like I see the conflict of interest piece. Maybe I'm getting way too in the weeds of this. Like, I guess I don't know what our current, like, what conflict of interest laws or rules currently govern this board, but I'm just wondering, like, this doesn't say anything about, like, what if you fail to disclose a conflict of interest? So I'm just curious if we know if there's any process along that way, and if we're adding this in here, are we setting ourselves up for something in the future? So I don't know the answer to that, but
That's a good question. And, we've had conflict of issue brought before us when there have been items being discussed. Daniel, can you speak to that at all? Has there ever been something where it's been discovered after the fact?
Sure, that's a good question. So I guess the more direct answer, enforcement of the bylaws really does not extend beyond removal from the board. I mean, that would really be the only enforcement mechanism of the bylaws in particular, since they're just your own rules. However, there are conflict of interest rules at the state level as well, and some of the language that we've used in here is just borrowed directly from that. So it's really there as more of a reminder than a new requirement.
Okay.
So as far as that, I'd be waiting outside of my wheelhouse to tell you what the enforcement mechanism of state law would be, but we can get an answer for you.
Okay, that would be interesting. I think especially because realizing that we're an advisory board and we make recommendations to the city commission, would that in fact invalidate a recommendation that we made if it was found that there was a conflict of interest that was not reported?
It would probably depend on how the vote was, if it was close or not. Because if you have a conflict that's not noted, and it's one member, that member's vote probably is thrown out. Then do you still have, do you still have a quorum? First. And then second, do you have enough majority vote to sustain the vote unless, I suppose if there's something through that conflict of interest that was through the discussion process that convinced others to vote a certain way, then I don't know. I mean, that's a legal question. I guess for other boards, and I believe we do for this, I mean, I take it for being the mayor, so there's an oath of office. In the oath of office, you're obligating yourself to disclose when you have a conflict of interest. And, I mean, I've done it, I don't know, maybe a dozen times in the 3+ almost 4 years that I have served as mayor in one meeting or another. As a professional, it's my obligation, regardless of what I'm doing here at the table. So I would just hope that we are respectful of that. And the board, the commission, could choose to vote that conflict is not bearing. So we have an example of that at City Commission, not this week, but 2 weeks ago, where we had a topic at the table and a commissioner disclosed that, because he's not going to be a commissioner any longer, that he might well be bidding on a job that the city is going to be, and we chose that wasn't going to have it had no conflict because we were just a preliminary budget to the job. So the commission chose that was not a conflict. So I think it's, these are the bylaws. I think the one thing is if we find out there's a continuum of somebody not disclosing, that we would want to remove, maybe even once, depending on the violation. But I think it's a legal question we got to ask. I don't know that, we got to adopt the bylaws, and if we find that there's something we need to add, we can amend them. Or we've gone, as you said, 100 years, probably, close. We can just wait and get that answer, which would probably be my recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
PEs, you all have, and architects, you all have your own set of code of conduct as well that we have to live by, that aren't much different.
Thank you. Commissioner Swanson, my recommendation would be that if there is any doubt in your mind that there could be a conflict, it's best to put it on the table and let the commission decide whether or not there's something there that would ask you to move away from the table for the vote or not. So rather than waiting until after the vote takes place. Fair enough?
Yeah,
And we can have Daniel look into it further.
Yeah, that works for me too. I think, like we said, since we haven't had these for 100 years, I just want to make sure we're checking all the legal processes, that we're not setting ourselves up in a type of trap. So
Fair
I'm
enough.
good. This conversation is good. So
Fair enough. Thank you. Commissioners, additional discussion? Are you comfortable with what's there? Do we need to look at it harder? Commissioner Schell?
I might suggest that if this does pass today and we adopt the removal of members section in particular, that we look at that just being prospectively and not retroactively. There's some language in there talking about 3 consecutive meetings or 7 of the last, 7 regular meetings within a calendar year. I don't know if we've really had that expectation noted of what the mandatory attendance would be, and I'd want to give every member here on the board the opportunity to get in line with what those bylaws would say and not kick someone out because that's actually occurred maybe now with some of the members that aren't at the meeting today. So I just want to be respectful of those that are here and those that aren't here to make sure that we give everyone the opportunity to kind of abide by the bylaws, if that's the case.
We won't make them retro.
That'd be my preference.
Commissioners, additional thoughts, comments? Okay. With that, Mr. Schmitz.
So the only question, to address Connor's question, I do think it would be wise before we adopt them and then have to amend them within 2 months or less to at least investigate what penalties, I guess, there would be, or what concerns there might be if we have a failed to disclose conflict of interest situation. and if they need to be, if it needs to be addressed in the bylaws. It may not need to be addressed in the bylaws, it may be a procedural thing. But I think before we adopt them, we should have that answer, rather than coming back in 2 months and amending them to fix something. So I would ask that Daniel at least have conversation with Attorney Mees. She'll be able to get to the bottom of that.
Mayor Schmitz, is there anything, because I'm assuming there is bylaws for the city commission?
There are, well, you have the oath, there's a code of conduct. We have, our ordinances are basically our bylaws that we have to operate by. There is an ordinance around the city administration. And then we have a separate code of conduct as well,
Okay.
and the oath of office.
Is it more detailed, I guess, is what I'm asking?
I don't believe it is.
Okay.
I mean, they're elected positions.
Yes.
And so, like, that's a whole different game. You can't dismiss an elected officer unless they're found guilty of some fraudulent action, and then it probably is a court action. I would hate to even opine on that, because I would be wrong. But the volunteer board, I think it's a little different. And so, I don't think it's gonna be an issue, but I would just, Connor brought up the question, it's a legitimate question, let's address it before we adopt.
Fair enough. Thank you. With that, I guess I would entertain a motion. Commissioner Wangler.
I didn't read close enough. Commissioner Shell said that, our meeting, it says, if you fail to attend 7 regular meetings in 1 calendar year. So that means you could miss October, November, December this year, January, February, March next year, and you still got 4 more, even though you've missed 6 in a row. Did we want to make that in a 12-month period? Which means that if they miss those 6, they've got 1 more until October. It just something else to think about if rather than a calendar year in a 12-month period, could probably be that word. So,
Commissioners, additional thoughts? Commissioner Shell?
I would agree with that if it was a rolling 12-month period or something like that for that determination. I'd almost say too, if we are talking through the removal process or whatever the recourse is for a member of the board failing to abide by these bylaws, maybe that removal of members section, Daniel, is expanded or looked into to what happens if someone isn't following the general conduct or some of the other statements in here, not just the attendance of being here. There might be some other pieces that can be brought into the removal if that in fact is the primary recourse of not abiding by the bylaws by a member.
Thank you. Yeah, I understand that. Also, I'll just add one thing too: is the removal is still at the discretion of that commission, so it's not saying that you automatically are removed if you miss that number. So.
Thank you, Commissioner Shaw. Commissioners, additional discussion?
I think let's get those answers. I think it's a good
Okay.
thing to establish bylaws or some rules around the board and members of the board or commission.
Daniel, are you good with continuing this particular item to our next meeting?
Yes, and I will have a conversation with Attorney Mees. I already have an email ready to send out to her, and we'll get some answers for you next month.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I'd entertain a motion to continue.
Also move.
We have a motion from Commissioner Schmitz,
Second.
second from Commissioner Swanson. Any additional discussion? If not, Sarah, please call roll.
Commissioner Johnson,
Yes.
Swanson,
Yes.
Wangler,
Yes.
Shell,
Yes.
Schmitz,
Yes.
Taylor. Yes. Schwartz.
Yes, the motion is approved. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 24th, 2026. I'd like to thank you for your for being here and participating this evening. And I wish you a good evening, and I adjourn the meeting.